Chapter 14, Part 1. It was much the same, this memory, though the hill seemed to be a different one, steeper, and the snow was not falling as thickly as it had before. It was colder, also, John perceived. He could see, as he sat waiting at the top of the hill, that the snow beneath the sledge was not thick and soft as it had been before, but hard and cold with bluish ice. The sledge moved forward, and John screamed with delight, looking forward to the breathtaking slide down through the invigorating air. But the runners this time couldn't slide through the frozen expanse as they had on the other snow-cushioned hill. They skittered sideways, and the sledge gathered speed. Jonas pulled at the rope, trying to steer, but the steepness and speed took control from his hands, and he was no longer enjoying the feeling of freedom, but instead terrified, was at the mercy of the wild isolation downwards of the ice. Sideways spinning. The sledge hit a bump in the hill, and Jonas was jarred loose and thrown violently into the air. He fell with his leg twisted under him, and could hear the crack of bone. His face scraped along jagged edges of ice, and when he came at last to a stop, he lay shocked and still, feeling nothing at first but fear. Then the first wave of pain, he gasped. It was as if a hatchet lay lodged in his leg, slicing through each nerve with a hot blade. In his agony, he perceived the word fire, and felt flames licking at the thorn bone and flesh. He tried to move and could not. The pain grew. He screamed. There was no answer. Stopping, he turned his head and vomited onto the frozen snow. Blood dripped from his face into the vomit. No, he cried. No, he cried, and the sound disappeared into the empty landscape, into the wind. Then suddenly he was in the annex's room again, writhing on the bed. His face was wet with tears. Able to move now, he rocked his own body back and forth, breathing deeply to release the remembered pain. He sat and looked at his own leg, where it lay straight on the bed, unbroken. The brutal slice of pain was gone, but the leg uttered horribly still, and his face fell low. May I have relief of pain, please? He begged. It was always provided in his everyday life for bruises and wounds, for a mashed finger, a stomach ache, a skinned knee from a fall from a bike. There was always a dove for anesthetic anointment, or a pill, or in served instance an injection that brought complete and instantaneous deliverance. But the giver said no and looked away, limping. Jones walked home, pushing his bicycle that evening. The sunburn pain had been so small in comparison, and had not stayed with him, but this ache lingered. It was not unendurable as the pain on the heel had been. Jonas tried to be brave. He remembered that the sheep elder had said he was brave. Is something wrong, Jonas? His father asked at the evening meal. You're so quiet tonight. Aren't you feeling well? Would you like some medication? But John remembered the rules. No medication for anything related to his training, and no discussion of his training. At the time, for sharing of feelings, he simply said that he felt tired, that his school lessons had been unusually demanding that day. He went to his sleeping room early, and from behind the closed door, he could hear his parents and sister laughing as they gave Gabriel his evening bath. They had never known pain, he thought. The realization made him feel desperately lonely, and he rubbed his throbbing leg. He eventually slept. Again and again he dreamed of the anguish and the isolation on the foreskin hill. The daily training continued, and now it always included pain. The agony of the fractured leg began to seem no more than a mild discomfort as the giver led Jonas firmly, by a little, into the deep and terrible suffering of the past. Each time, in his kindness, the giver ended the afternoon with a colorful filled memory of pleasure. A brisk sail on a blue-green lake, a meadow dotted with yellow wild flowers, an orange sunset behind mountains. It was not enough to assuage the pain that Jonas was beginning now to know. Why? Jonas asked him after he had received a tortuous memory in which he had been neglected and unfed. The the had hunger had caused excruciating spasms in his empty, distended stomach. He lay on the bed, itching. Why do you and I have to hold these memories? It gives us wisdom, the giver replied. Without wisdom, I could not perfectly my function of advising the committee of elders when they call after me. But what wisdom do you get from hunger? Jonas groaned. His stomach still hurt, though the memory had ended. Some years ago, the giver told him, before your bears, a lot of citizens petitioned the committee of elders. They wanted to increase the rate of births. They wanted each birth mother to be four, assigned 4 births instead of 3, so that the population would increase and there would be more levies available. John's not listening. That makes sense. The idea was that certain family units could accommodate an additional child. Jones nodded again. Mine could, he pointed out. We have Gabrielle this year, and it's fun having a third child. The committee of elders sought my advice. The giver said it made sense to them, too. But it was a new idea, and they came to me for wisdom. And you use your memories. The giver said yes. And the strongest memory that came was hunger. It came from many generations back, centuries back. The population had got so big that hunger was everywhere. Excruciating hunger and starvation. It was followed by warfare. Warfare? It was a concept Jonas did not know. But hunger was familiar to him now. Unconsciously, he rubbed his own abdomen, recalling the pain of his unf- unfulfilled needs. So you describe that to them. They don't want to hear about pain. They just seek advice. I simply advise them against increasing the population. But you said that was before my birth. They hardly ever come to you for advice. Only when they what what was it you said? When they have a problem they've never faced before. When did that when did it happen last? Do you remember the day when the plane flew over the community? Yes, I was scared. So were they. They prepared to shut it down, but they sought my advice. I told them to wait. But how did you know? How did you know the pilot was lost?